So what happens when you're a coward? I think South Carolina Senator Tim Scott knows this quite well. 3 days ago, he was on Fox News, and they were basically doing everything to get this dude to criticize the, I'm sorry, what did you call him, Kelly? The Mad Mussolini, what was it? I'm sorry. The what?
Mango Mussolini.
I'm sorry, the Mango Mussolini. Gotcha. Okay, cool. So they were trying to get Senator Tim Scott to call out the Mango Mussolini, and just a coward. Watch.
Do you think that there will be fatigue among that evangelical vote for the former president when they watch all of these legal trials over the course of this year? Is that going to be something that makes some of them peel off?
I think the average voter is going to want to know, how does the candidate best represent the future for my children? How does the
But I'm asking you, is the evangelical vote going to get tired of what the former president is going through?
I heard your question. My answer is that people will make a decision based on the future of their family, not what's going on in the legal entanglements of the former president. What I found throughout the entire state, 1% of all the questions I received has to do with the former president.
No doubt. I'm sure that's true, and we find that as well, but he's the front runner by a lot. Of
course, absolutely.
And I know that you had said in the past that the evangelical vote was very important to your path.
Well, I think all voters are, but certainly I think we're going to do very well with the evangelical voters over the next 4 or 5 months. We'll find out whether I'm right or not. I am very confident that when we're heading into December, we're going to be in striking zone.
So
I'm very confident that man is scared to death to utter a single negative word about Donald Trump because he is desperately trying to be Donald Trump's vice president. That's what I think he's doing. In fact, remember when Donald Trump got indicted, I mean, this was a line of questioning. And just listen to how Tim Scott answered this. Listen.
Start off with the latest indictment of your chief rival, Donald Trump. I know we've talked about the two-tiered system of justice. You see it in the past, but if we could look into Georgia specifically, right? We all heard that phone call with the former president, then president at the time, where he said, just find me the requisite number of votes that I would need. Doesn't that feel anti-American? Doesn't that feel like not what a president should do?
I'll always continue to say it as I see it, which is that we see the legal system being weaponized against political opponents. That is un-American and unacceptable. And at the end of the day, we need a better system than that. And I frankly hope to be the president of the United States where we have an opportunity to restore confidence and integrity in all of our departments of justice in the country.
Yeah, but that phone call, you heard it, right?
Yes, but we just draw different conclusions.
You think it's fine? You would do that as president? You would look for the amount of votes? Quick question for you, if we could start off.
Like, he literally did not even want to answer the question about the phone call. Well, I saw this story today that I just loved, and I hope there's video. It hasn't been posted yet, but I'm sure looking for the video. And so Tim Scott, go to my iPad, Tim Scott is tense back and forth with New Hampshire voter over support for Trump. A 79-year retired school teacher jammed up Tim Scott at a campaign stop today as he was making his way through the Windmill restaurant. Customer David Coffey called him over to the booth where he was eating and said, "You don't stand up to Trump. How are you going to stand up to the president of Russia and China?" As Scott tried to talk around the question, Coffey pushed back, and Scott said, "Do you want to have a conversation or do you want a monologue? I'm happy to listen, but if you want to have a dialogue, I'll be speaking as well." Scott rejected Coffey's characterization, and he is unwilling to stand up to Trump. Quote, "The premise of the question is, why don't you stand up to Trump? You're just wrong that I don't. I was one of the few people that actually stood up against those major issues, whether it was Charlottesville or other major challenges he had," would name them. "I'm the guy that stood up and talked about the disagreements that we had." Okay. Now, they say Scott was one of the 6 candidates on stage who raised their hand when asked if they would support Trump in the general election should he win the GOP nomination. Coffey later called Scott out for not condemning Trump's actions on January 6th. "The president on January 6th wanted to destroy our country. Do you agree with that or not?" Scott says, "I do not." He says, "I believe that the people who were responsible for threatening my life were the people who were outside the chambers forcing their way into the Capitol. Coffee, you're a leader. You're a leader of this country, did nothing to help you out for 2 hours. Later, Coffee did an interview. He said he's a politician, right? He avoids direct questions because he doesn't want to lose a lot of Republican voters by saying what Christie is saying and some of the others are saying. Here is the reality, Michael. Senator Tim Scott, when it comes to this, he's wimping out. He wants to be Trump's VP. That's what he's running for. Vivek out there with his little nonsense, they're all, some actually, Nikki Haley has been highly critical of Trump. Obviously, Chris Christie. Obviously, you have DeSantis. But the bottom line is, this dude, he is playing for the number 2 spot.
Absolutely. And Tim Scott is scared of his own shadow. And Tim Scott, I want you to Google Harrison Floyd, this brother right here, because if you become Trump's vice president, God forbid, this could be you in the next 6, 8 years, whatever it is, okay? So Tim Scott does not want to call out Trump. Tim Scott, when he was hemmed up by the 79-year-old man, it was 187 minutes that Trump did absolutely nothing, okay? Yes, it was the people outside, but it was Benedict Donald who sent those people outside who were trying to get inside. He was the one who sent them there. And let everybody, I want everybody to understand this also. Tim Scott was also the one who tanked the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And one of the most insulting things that he did was when he gave his speech announcing he's running for president. Part of the reason why he said he should become president is because he refunded the police. What he was talking about was when he went out and lied in September 2021 and said that they couldn't come to an agreement on the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act over defunding the police, okay? And then the Fraternal Order Police and the International Association of Police Chiefs put out a joint memo saying that in none of the drafts of the bill did they talk about defunding police and how they supported the bill. So Tim Scott is somebody that we definitely need to study and stop, okay? All scan folk are not kin folk. He's a good example of that.
Here's the thing, though. I watched the debate, Kelly, and Tim Scott even at one point talked about what we must do is stop the spending in D.C. We must return the money to the states. First of all, Kelly, he's from broke-ass South Carolina, okay? Broke-ass South Carolina. South Carolina gets more money from the federal government than they send to the federal government. So y'all can't even fund your damn selves, Tim. You need federal money. But, so check this out. He literally said that, and I'll give her credit, but she finally showed some guts. This is what Nikki Haley actually had to say about the spending in Washington, D.C.
I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us, too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
I did crack up laughing when I saw Tim Scott talk about that. I'm kind of like, dude, that's you. He's a coward. He's a coward, Kelly. He is not going to criticize Trump because I'm trying to tell you, Kelly, he wants, and I've talked to other black Republicans who have insisted to me, Tim Scott wants to be the VP.
And that's all well and dandy. I want to be a millionaire like tomorrow, and that's just not going to happen. It's simply not feasible unless I hit the lottery, and that's not going to happen right now either, because I don't play the lottery. And I say all that to say, I don't care how much you suck up to Trump, how much you do all of these things, bend over backwards, compromise your morals, all of these things, he's not going to pick you, sir. You are a black man in a Republican Party. That's not going to happen. He's a racist. You're not going to get picked. He'll appreciate the money you raise him. He'll appreciate you sucking up to him. But that's about it. That's your limit. That is your glass ceiling, sir. And the fact that you don't see it, even though it is transparent as hell, is baffling to me, because it's been there. And you're looking up at it, and it's like, because it's so transparent, maybe you don't see it, maybe you're afraid to tap it a little bit, but this is as far as you go. You're not getting picked.
Well, the thing just goes to show in terms of how these folks think and how they operate. Matt, is again, they don't have courage. And to me, again, they're so scared of this dude. You're not gonna beat somebody that you're scared of. You're simply not gonna do it. And that's exactly what you see here. And so this little idiot, he's just, again, he's flat out is operating as a coward. I'm trying to find a clip. Chris Christie was on with Neil Cavuto, and they were talking about one of the other opponents. And the thing that was a trip to me was Cavuto asked Christie, if Vivek got the nomination, would you support him? The dude wouldn't even just say hell no. He wouldn't even say hell no. What he did was, that I can assure you that's never going to happen. No, how about just saying hell no? But the reason they can't do that, Matt, is because, again, they are scared to death of him. They're scared to death of him actually being the nominee and them being locked out. I said it almost 2 years ago next month on ABC. These people care about power. They have no morals, no values, no principles. They have no ethics. They have no patriotism. It's about power. That's why they all raise their hand. That's why they will not say with certainty, if this person gets a nomination, hell no, I'm not supporting them. Because what did Bill Barr do when he was on CNN? He laid out this whole long deal of all the stuff that Trump did, and if he did those things, that he should be convicted. But he then said, I'm not going to waste my vote. If he would not rule out still voting for Donald Trump. It's because they, Matt, get power. And they're going to vote with one another to maintain power, even if it's Donald Trump.
I don't disagree, and I'm going to opine on that, but I saw Michael wanted to jump in, so I'll yield to him before I answer in earnest if he wanted to say something.
No. You go and answer.
Okay, well, then in that respect, I don't think you're wrong at all. And I'm here to say publicly that I was completely wrong, because I thought at this point the party of alleged morals and law and order at this point would have cut itself loose from Donald Trump and he would be a non-factor. I've said that many times on this show, well in advance of this election cycle, and I was flat wrong. And I think you're 100% right. I mean, the fact that you had, 6 out of the 8 people on the stage the other night raise their hand and say they would still support him if he was convicted is absurd, right? Because not only are we in new frontier country as it relates to somebody running for president who may have convictions or who's been accused of such crimes, but, I mean, you have absolutely no credibility in my mind if you're not willing to say this is beyond the pale. Because please believe, Roland, if Tim Scott's black behind was indicted in one place, they would be castigating him and saying he absolutely could never be president again, right? Or could never be president. the reason they're not doing that with Donald Trump is because they're afraid because of how Trump has managed other people who have come against him in the past. And I don't understand why instead of everybody just shutting him out, they're all so afraid. It doesn't make any sense to me, particularly because I think he's the front runner for the Republican nominee right now, obviously. But I don't think that he's going to have the success in the general election. And I don't know why the Republicans are betting on him as their horse in the future. I think he's good at getting headlines, but I don't know that the American people overall are going to vote for him again, notwithstanding differences in voting totals between Republicans and Democrats and old people and young people and all that stuff. I don't think he gets elected again, but I was wrong before. He's going to be the nominee, most likely. So I don't know why they're afraid of him, but they clearly are afraid of him. And you cannot beat somebody you're not, willing to call out and run against head up.